Thank you. So I was looking at Facebook the other day, and it brought up this memory. They're called memories. Sometimes they're kind of embarrassing, but this one, it brought up these two things, and I said, the caption from years ago was, "I'm talking at Unity of San Marcos. Look at this," you know.
Great.
I know, and so apparently there was something awful happening at the time. There's always, something awful happening. Yeah, pretty regularly awful things happen. And so this was, I didn't give you this one because I couldn't find it in my computer, and I was going to have to type the whole thing over. No, I didn't want to do it, but I did type this one over. So, and this is really the important part. So, we're going to do something practical today. Unity is practical Christianity, which is we give you ideas of how things could work. And there are all kinds of tools. What Unity people, the reason I was drawn to Unity in the first place was everybody read books about what to do. So I was already reading The Road Less Traveled and, various, books like that. And then I came to Unity and I went to the bookstore and I just went bananas. I can't remember how many books I bought, but I would come like during the week just to kind of hang out. And so in all those books, there's some little nugget. I stopped years ago. I started Unity in 1985, and I stopped years ago trying to do the whole book, because if you did that, you'd just be changing things, you'd be changing your whole life over and over and over, which I found impractical for me. But every book has a little something that you can carry with you. And there's this one book called The 12 Powers of Man by Charles Fillmore. And what he did was he thought about what it is. We're always talking about the Christ inside of us and the power inside of us and the Spirit, the Spirit inside of us and all of that. Well, what is it? Like, he tried to put a name to the powers that we actually have to change our world. I mean, that was the whole idea from the beginning, was to take what we see and change our way of seeing. That song was just perfect. Because we can't always change, like if Jim is misbehaving, I can't always change his, misbehavior, but I can change the way I look at it. So this is an ideal example. I would get so mad because there's a concrete place right next to us. They bought the land that was kind of next to us, and so on Friday nights, it's the end of the week. They've been working since 6 o'clock in the morning every day, and now they're, cutting loose. And Mexican music, loud Mexican music, loud enough so that I can hear it inside the house,
Right.
plays for hours every Friday night. They're having a party. And it's not the Mexican music. I like Mexican music. It's the fact that I can only hear the bass.
Yep.
Yeah.
Does that drive you nuts?
Yeah.
So I was complaining. It goes like this: bump, 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 bump. Yeah. And just I'm like a Bugs Bunny cartoon. I'm just. And one night, I was just for like the umpteenth time I'm railing, and Jim says, "It's lucky to have loud Mexican music playing next door." And so now every time I hear it, I just laugh and I say, Aren't we lucky to have loud Mexican music playing next door? And yes.
Yeah, that's what we need to say.
Yes, Jim?
It's lucky to let someone in traffic.
Oh, yeah. It's lucky to let somebody in traffic.
Yes.
Yes.
You can apply this to many other things.
Uh-huh.
Crickets are lucky
Yeah.
in
Yep.
China.
Inside the house, yeah. Yeah.
So because if you have ever had you're trying to go to sleep and a cricket is in your
Yeah.
house,
Yeah.
you can't find them.
No, you can't
go to
find them.
sleep. So if you decide they're lucky.
They're lucky.
then-
It's
then-
lucky to have a cricket in
It's
the
lucky
house.
to have a cricket in the house.
Yeah. So see, just that one little thing turned me completely, now I'm never mad, you know? When I hear loud Mexican music. I wish they'd play it either a little louder or a little softer, but that's not up to me. So, these are the things that Fillmore was trying to pinpoint. Like, what exactly do we have? What are our tools that we can use to change our point of view with the world? And I personally believe that there should be about 14 of them. I think he left out 2. Some unity ministers, ordained unity ministers, have told me that this one plus this one equals that one that I think is missing. But I think he could have just put it in the first place, you know. Compassion is the one that I miss. Understanding and love, apparently, is compassion. So I went to the International Youth of Unity Convention one year. I was a mom of a teenager, and so I got to go as a sponsor, which was really cool. And the kids who were putting together the seminar had put together a list of the 12 powers, what it looked like when you had too little of it, what it looked like when you were using too much of it, and what it looked like when it was in balance. So I've chosen 6 of our powers, and I'm going to share with you what it looks like when they're off and what it looks like when they're working. So the first one is understanding. And these are I believe that these are the most powerful powers that we can use to change our world. Okay, so understanding. So I have to admit that I use this to excuse myself. And a lot of times you hear people saying, oh, I can't use computers. I don't understand this smartphone. I can't understand what these kids are talking about. You know, and it excuses you from a whole big part of life that you don't want to deal with, you know? So inability to understand, perceive, and comprehend. That's when you're using too little of it. And yeah, you are using it that way. Too much is when you're a know-it-all and a smart aleck. I have to admit I have been a smart aleck in my lifetime. Not anymore, though. I've changed completely. So balanced use is when you can know something, perceive, and comprehend. So when you can look clear-eyed at what's going on and understand it, comprehend it. Sometimes it takes a while of thinking of things or maybe research before you really comprehend the problem. And I'm getting a new washer dryer on Tuesday, and I'll tell you why. Years ago, we got a front-loading washing machine, and almost immediately this smell started in my utility room, and I thought it was a dead rat. I thought it was a blah, blah, blah. I thought it was many, many things. It's that dang washer. Yeah. And so I'm getting rid of it. But it really took me this long to understand that the way to fix it is to get rid of it. You hear these ads on TV, like, you can, your clothes that have deep smells in them that your washer can't get out. Well, if your washer is cleaning your clothes, it's going to get the smells out. You don't have to put that other little crystals in there. So anyway, that's comprehending. It took me 2 years to know and perceive what the problem was, and then it took me another year to realize that I could just say to Jim, I am buying a new washer dryer, and this is how much it costs, and we have the money, and I'm doing it. If you talk to him in like short declarative sentences, he won't resist. If I try to make a big thing of it, like a big, if I worked on sort of a long explanation and, this is justifying why, no, he knows why. Imagination. And too little imagination, you know what that is. Too much imagination is excessive worry. And also fantasizing, but I kind of like to fantasize. I don't think that's bad. Balanced use is when you can envision, conceive, and create ideas. And that, of course, is going to be seeing the world the way you want it to be. That gives you your finding out the way you want it to be, gives you your guide to what it is you want to change. Faith. So our daily word today was about faith. You have faith. Everybody does. You don't need more faith. You need to put your faith where you want it to be. Okay? So like, I can't think of a good example except for the Mexican music. I have faith that every Friday night there's going to be loud Mexican music coming from next door, right? But I also have faith that I can be okay with that. I don't have to be mad. And one time I stormed over there. They were shocked. It was like they couldn't even see me. They were just so startled.
Oh, aren't you lucky?
Well,
You didn't meet
yeah.
adversity?
Yeah.
Your imagination.
Yes, exactly.
That's why I am so lucky I know better.
Yeah.
And stay on my
Your side of the
lane.
fence, yes, exactly. So when you're using your faith too little, you're hopeless and distrustful. And I think that's kind of where a lot of us are right now about some things. Hopeless and distrustful.
Okay.
Especially kind of the government. I don't know. The government is kind of making me hopeless and distrustful right now. When you have too much, you're overconfident, gullible, and highly opinionated. When you have balanced use, you believe and intuit.
You believe in what?
Intuit. The next one is will. And this is one I have a little trouble with these days. Too little will is indecisive and irresolute. Irresolute. There's a word for you, Angie. Too much will is stubborn. And when you have balanced use of your will, you can choose, decide, and you can also lead. People will follow if you are clear in in your direction, right? When you know what you're doing, people will follow you. Next, strength. So I'm not going to say the too little and too much because they're just, you know what they are. But balanced use means that you can endure, persevere, and persist. I've always heard that the hardest part of achieving a goal is getting started. That's just really not true for me. I get stuff started all the time. I have many incomplete projects. And I have many times when I've started something with enthusiasm and then I just totally lose interest. So, and I think that's okay because they're really not important things. The important things I'm able to keep going. But, things that I want to achieve in the future, I'm very carefully, I'm using my understanding and very carefully choosing what they're going to be. And then the last one, of course, is wisdom. So, too little, foolish. Too much, cunning, crafty, calculating. You think you're that way, don't you?
Is it me?
Uh-huh.
Oh,
Jim always likes to stick it to the man.
oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah, there's an element of that.
There's an element of sticking it to the man, is what he says to me a lot of times. I love the way he talks. Balanced use is when you can evaluate, discern, and apply what you know. So, on our little handout that I gave you, almost always what we're upset about when we're upset. Not listening to the news really helps if you're just really overwhelmed, but somehow you get it anyway. There's always somebody that's talking about it, or you hear things in passing, or you read things on Facebook. There's always something. I try not to participate if something is bringing up an emotion in me. I try not to participate. And when I see an advertisement that makes me fearful or whatever, I try not to put any energy in that because I know I'm being manipulated. That's exactly what they're doing, is they're trying to make me feel fear or, all different types of fear, urgency, lack, So I try to avoid those. But most of the time, when I'm upset about something that's going on in the world, it's because I think somebody should be acting differently, right? And we were listening to Sunday Morning this morning, and they were talking about how they were talking with Liz Cheney, right? And she said, we've got, or maybe it was the introduction to that, said we've gotten to where people who have different political views than us we're not just different in our opinions, they're evil. There's evil in them. And so I want to just remind us of what Jesus said about how to treat others. The first one is from Matthew 7:12. So whatever you wish others would do, do you also to them, for this is the law and the prophets. And also from Matthew, love your neighbor as yourself. And then the big one, this is the one that I wish Jesus hadn't said.
Way to do.
You have heard it said, Love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I tell you, love your enemies and pray for those that persecute you, that you may be children of your Father in heaven. He causes the sun to rise on the evil and the good, and sends rain on the righteous and the unrighteous. So no matter what my opinion is about what they're doing or what they believe or who they are or what their country's doing or any of that stuff, God loves those people just the same. Just the same. There's no difference. And they have just exactly the same amount of the Christ Spirit in them as I do. My opinion is they're not expressing it, but that's just my opinion. So I want us to just examine a little bit about what we really believe, what our core beliefs are. And then I want us to kind of pinpoint what the issues are right now that concern us the most, and then what we can do today. And some of the things we can do are going to be just the things that we know how to do. A lot of people make fun of thoughts and prayers, and it does seem like you could do some more stuff besides just thoughts and prayers. But prayers are really powerful also. Jesus said it right here, pray for those that persecute you. And also affirmations and denials. Denying the power of the situation. And we know that, we've had in our lifetimes, we've had some really long wars that were ours, our government started them. And yet they came to an end. World War II was just amazingly huge, and yet it came to an end. Apartheid in South Africa came to an end. So everything that we see as unbeatable comes to an end, right? So that's where I want us to be today. Just seeing what it is that we can contribute to bring whatever it is we're concerned about to an end, to transform it into something else. One thing I wanted to just mention, I want to mention a couple of good things I've heard lately. One of them is there's so many people right now in the Gaza Strip in Israel working to help people. There's so many helpers. And all the countries around there are in on it. The president is starting a cooperative between the National Park Service and AmeriCorps to recruit young people to do climate change activism. They haven't even started yet. They haven't even taken applications yet, and 25,000 people are interested. So those are just some things. We see this thing on the news that scares us so that we'll buy whatever it is they're advertising, usually a prescription drug. I need a prescription drug, please. But also there's all this happening, right? And there's usually a way we can help. So let's take just a moment, and we're gonna go inside. You can close your eyes, relax your body, and we're just gonna start listening to our breathing. For me, it takes about 3 deep breaths to start letting go of the outer and turning inside to the inner. With the breath, of course, there's no past and there's no future. Our breath reminds us that we only have this moment. But we always have this moment. So I'd like for you to connect to that power within you. Sometimes you feel it right in your heart. Sometimes you feel it in your solar plexus. But it's that power that creates everything. And it created us. It sustains us. And everything that's living. All the transformations that are occurring right now. We are in it and of it. Allow yourself to think of love. Think of a beloved pet or a person that you love. How it feels to be with them. The joy that they bring you. Just feel that love surrounding you, filling you. Bringing forth your understanding and your imagination. To perceive what is your work to do. What is your concern? What do you believe? Take another deep breath. And as we open our eyes, we allow ourselves to understand what are our beliefs. So just take a minute and jot down anything that came to you about yourself, about your life, the people around you, our country, and the world. I'm going to do one of these too. also, as you're writing these, if you see something in the beliefs that you'd like to change, you might jot down the power that you want to use for that. Are there any surprises? I always like to ask that. I'm surprised that I believe about myself that I still think I'm not, I lack discipline.
Not what?
I'm glad.
I lack discipline. I still think that.
Oh, my goodness.
I started out real critical,
Yeah?
but it doesn't have to be critical.
No.
I remember my basic core
Yeah.
belief. I'm a lucky guy.
You are a lucky, lucky guy. Yeah. Jim says this affirmation at least 4 times a day. I am a lucky, lucky guy.
Can't beat it.
He says, I'm a lucky guy. Lucky, lucky, lucky.
I was surprised that 2 of the things I wrote under issues that concern me, I have no control. They were like my sister's health. I
Yeah.
don't have any control. I can
Right.
pray, I can
Sure.
meditate, I can wish her well, I can send her a card, or call
Yep.
her.
Absolutely.
But I can't cure leukemia.
Yeah.
It's not in my will.
And I'm still kind of trying to fix my sister's health. And I believe that if I fuss at her about stuff she's not doing, that's going to help. But it never does. Never. Never.
And thank her for being the way she is.
She's so wonderful. She's a wonderful person. Yeah.
Focus on positive.
Exactly. Exactly. Anything else that you discovered? So the issues that I'm concerned about are pretty much all the ones that I'm always concerned about: wars, climate change, refugees, and then I've also added my church because we're kind of in a period of transition right now. Did anybody find something to do as a positive action step?
Pray.
Pray, exactly. Let me
For
put
the
that.
ones I have disdain for.
Let me put that on my list. Pray for your enemies, in quotations.
After I looked at all these things you mentioned, I mean, I went through them and I went, yeah, I don't know if any of all that really applies. I mean,
I found understanding and will, basically.
yeah.
And faith.
And faith, yeah.
I think I find that, and I know a lot of people who have very different political beliefs than I do. And
Right.
We've become so divided.
Yes.
That there's good guys and bad guys.
Yeah.
There's black and white.
Yeah.
And I really want to change that.
Yeah.
I want to just connect to people,
Mhm.
as human beings that are very good, good people.
Yeah.
You're such a good person.
Yeah.
I love your garden,
Uh-huh.
whatever I can do to bridge that
Yes.
gap,
Mhm.
so, that we don't go into that divisive.
Exactly, yeah.
So that's something I think I'm working on.
Good for you. That's a tricky one.
ever since my husband passed away and his death, it was pretty rough on me, very rough on me.
Uh-huh,
I became scared.
yeah,
And with that scared, my understanding didn't evaporate, but it definitely took an ebb.
yeah,
And I'm discovering again that I'm myself and that the things I feel are attributes of strength and understanding and will and then understanding again and then understanding again.
Yeah.
So I had to rediscover the understanding.
yeah, yeah, that's important. Because we tell each other stories, you know, sometimes we get the stories from other
I told a
people.
lot of my own stories to
Exactly.
myself.
Exactly, yeah, yeah, that's right. So you know that any of the things that you found in your core beliefs or in the issues that concern you, you can use those to create denials and affirmations. And so if there's anything that you're really struggling with, like this thing that I lack discipline, I mean, that's just crazy. It doesn't look like, my discipline doesn't look like my mother's discipline. Yeah.
Boy, you said it right there.
I did, I said a mouthful.
Oh.
A mouthful. But the more I understand about her, the way she did things, one of the things that I do is I think about stuff for a long, long time before I take action. And I have found out that she did the same. She didn't talk about it. She played him close to the vest. But once she had decided, then she started immediately taking action. But there was this long process beforehand that I didn't know about. So I always thought she was just like forging ahead all the time, but she wasn't. So that's why I need to get rid of that belief that my mother was a certain way, because she wasn't. Nobody is ever the way you think they are. You know? There's always something in there that you don't know about. All right, has this been helpful to you? Is there anything else we want to discuss before we go? Yes.
About others.
Yeah.
There are all kinds of others.
There are all kinds of others.
Whatever other there is.
Yes. This is
All
another
kinds of
thing.
Democrats, all
Yeah.
kinds of Republicans.
It's another thing that
all kinds of
Jim Connelly, another Jim
All kinds of-
Connellyism.
All kinds of black people, all kinds of Jews, all kinds of Arabs, they're all kinds.
Men,
All kinds
women.
of men, all kinds of women.
yeah,
You know,
yeah. There are dog people and cat people, for heaven's
There are all
sake.
kinds of others.
There are people who like both. Yeah, everybody's doing their own thing. And everybody's doing their best. That's one thing that's really been hard for me to accept. It's, you know, if your best looks like crap to me, you're still doing your best. You know, it doesn't mean anything.
Well, see, so for me to accept it, I just really have to dislodge myself
Yes.
from it by walking away.
Yes. Yeah,
So I
don't
won't say anything and
Don't get
cause it will
entangled.
make things worse or.
Right. Stay unentangled. All right, thank you so much. And are we taking an offering